Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So this was our first video today. This was a Patreon exclusive, the most taboo subject on Earth in 2025. We, always feel a little bit uncomfortable broaching on this, and we're going to broach a little bit in this video on some connected information. This was from yesterday. This was Cindy's very first video completely by herself.
It was not.
I was given just some energy in the background, but it was well received and awesome.
People really enjoyed the energy, and Mike does such a good job, and he's the power behind everything else. So we did it, even though it was my voice from front to back. It was him. It's us. So I can't let him say I did it all by myself. I won't let him say that.
Well, come and join us over there on the Patreon family. Also for exclusives, they tend to come in bunches. It's kind of the way things go. Here you have Trump advisors weigh plan to dismantle education department. Administration officials are discussing executive order that could shut down key functions of the agency. And the thing I like the best in here is talking about sending the power back to the states. Now that makes me feel very hopeful. But again, just like, Charlie Brown getting that football pulled away at the last moment, we're cautiously hopeful. And then we see other things that are very concerning at the same time. So dismantling the education department sounds good. I'd love to see more people homeschooling. I'd love to see all schooling be basically at the very, very local level with the curriculum up, not to a government agency, because again, doesn't it just simply become indoctrination when we're at that point? I mean, we've seen science that has been rewritten countless times in one way or another, in our history rewritten time and time again. Indoctrination, education, there are differences, but unfortunately they're hard to see the differences in what has been public education. Over here, Trump signs order establishing a sovereign wealth fund that he says could buy TikTok. So again, There's always bigger agendas to what initially seems to be something that might be curious, but in some ways trivial, in other ways not trivial. I mean, there's people that, TikTok is one of the most important things in their life. And here you have Trump signing an executive order that outlines plans for government-run sovereign wealth fund to serve as an economic development tool and perhaps be used to buy TikTok. Though the idea of such a U.S. fund has been brought up before, they are generally used by smaller nations with vast natural resources, as well as fiscal surpluses to deploy. Now, when we look a little bit closer, here you go. Let's just play this clip for everybody to hear. Let me make sure the volume is up okay.
The extraordinary size and scale of the U.S. government and the business it does with companies should create value for American citizens. If we are going to buy 2 billion COVID vaccines, maybe
and this is involving that American sovereign fund.
We should have some warrants and some equity in these companies and have that grow for the help of the American.
Interesting how it's having a problem there, isn't it? Getting stop. So yeah, he's talking about having equity in companies, having the government have equity in companies. Ooh, that's really sounds like conflicting interests there, doesn't it? And there's 2 billion doses of what? I mean, I'm speechless, but then again, I have a lot of things I could say, but I don't dare say them on YT and other platforms.
No, you don't. You put the information out there. That's about all we can do on YT.
Yeah. So every time you see something hopeful, you see something that makes you say, bleep. Oh, how about this one? Trump has announced he wants to remove repeat offenders from the U.S. and pay a foreign country a small fee to care for them abroad. It's understandable, you don't want somebody that was born in a different country, comes here, is here for a little while, commits egregious crimes to stay here, yet sending them to some other third-party nation. And meanwhile, you have President Nayib Bukele, who is viewed as saving El Salvador, making it one of the safest nations on the world from being one of the least safest nations on the world, actually being somebody that here tweets that they've offered the U.S. the opportunity to outsource part of its prison system to them. So, if you are convicted of a crime or whatever in the U.S., you might find yourself somewhere in El Salvador's prison system. The thing that really, just looking at the history of what's going on the planet in different times, different regimes, the thought that you might be a political prisoner of sorts, again, if you're speaking up against certain other nations or groups and be labeled some sort of prisoner, some sort of criminal, and then find yourself in a totally different nation. And how about family and connections? This feels that feels awful creepy to me. I don't know about you guys, but what do you think?
What keeps popping into my mind, and this is just so disturbing, is a practice that is done in the medical community about organ harvesting. I don't know why that's popping in my head. You could use your imagine why it's popping in my head, but that's really all I got to say about that.
Yeah, that's especially when we're talking about a third-party nation. Like if you were born, spent all your life in country A, you came to country B, commit a crime, country B wants to get rid of you and send you off to country C. Maybe you're spending time with the Uyghurs that have been ostracized over in the fine dining ware country. Yeah, this feels very creepy. Obviously, the worst criminals that can be, as we've talked about, whole prison systems being emptied and sending them over the border. That's one thing, but I think opening up the door for something totally different, which, when you make legislation like this, it can be eventually used in different ways.
Well, what I look at it is it opens so many doors for the ability of chaos and confusion and people getting lost in the system. That's just what I see. People
getting lost on the planet and you never hear from them again because you don't know what country they're in the first place. 2 Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority employees been arrested for leaking video of the tragic DC aircraft collision, which claimed 67 lives. Why would they get arrested for just trying to, again, get to the bottom of things and share with us? Government, in most of our minds, if we've grown up in the U.S., it's supposed to be of the people, for the people. It's not even close to that. And it doesn't matter if it's left or right in control.
And no, I mean, it's a huge mess. And it's like we really have to take control of the situation right now. If we don't, it's just going to get worse. The controllers are going to continue to control more. But I understand the overwhelming problem that we are all faced with. And it's like this problem is so huge. How do we tackle that? And you guys, it's always going to come back to the same thing. And you're going to get so tired of me saying this, but it starts with you. You take control of you, and that energy spreads out, and it's catchy.
Well, like I said, the one thing that was so hopeful was throwing power back to the states, because you need to break down all the bigger instruments of control. The only way, the few control the many is through these big agencies. So if there was, no European Union, if there was even no United States, if there wasn't a Russian Confederacy again, if China was broken down into its, states or provinces again, it makes it harder for the few to control the many. So going in that opposite direction and making things more local, I think, again, is a step in the right direction, but that's just my thoughts. Report reveals deep fractures under radioactive Ohio landfill. So you have a 100-acre section of land northeast of the closed Portsmouth gaseous diffusion plant. Mammoth trucks and front-end loaders are busy digging and filling a $650 million landfill with radioactive and hazardous waste. Even, things, it could house even things like, former atomic bombs and things. It's just crazy. So, when I hear people roar in approval when 47 says, drill, baby, drill, and that there's technology out there that truly is clean, it's like, what's in your head that you're roaring with approval? What is in your head? And then the same thing goes for the left when they're, trying to protect things, but they're not really protecting the environment. They're just protecting their bank accounts. This is because it's one corrupt system. Both wings are corrupt. And in fact, all wings are corrupt. Whether we're talking about the capitalist or the communist, it's all one system. And still, so much of the world is still walking in the dark. Meanwhile, here you go, 47 inches of snow in 12 hours. Yeah, global warming, let's just call it climate change. So anything that's, again, not not the norm, we could basically blame it on people so that we can push our agendas, which is really the main objective here, and keep control, and the rich get richer. How much is enough money? That's the thing. As long as somebody is richer than one of these egocentric beings, they're always going to want to be richer themselves, even though they might not be able to ever use it all. They could, some people are just so rich on the planet, they could never spend it all. But yet they need more. Well, it is a byproduct of a culture that is trying to sell us that paradigm. We need to take a step back and recognize we're all living on this planet, and when there's toxic waste around one of us, it's around all of us. The entire planet has been toxified, at least the portion that we're allowed to be on. And then here you go, Whole Foods. Yeah, this is just, again, part of the situation. When you look at organic, and organic's not organic, but yet you'll have people say, I saw somebody commented, save your money and don't buy organic. Then you're getting GMO. You're getting absolutely overloaded with all sorts of toxins. That's certainly not the answer, and again, that's probably somebody that's still literally eating McDonald's and Burger King, which, I wouldn't touch any of it with a 10-foot pole. I wouldn't feed it to wildlife. It's not suitable for consumption. Unfortunately, so little is. But, going the route of saying, whatever, that's just going to lead to the mortuary quicker than ever.
Well, then you are looking at more doctor's appointments, more co-pays, more gas to get to the doctor's appointments, more time at the doctor's office, less time at home doing what you want to do, and then you're probably in pain, and you probably have all of these little things going on inside of your body and you're just deteriorating slowly but surely. And that's the creepy part about just making those decisions. Say, I don't care. I'm just going to save my money and do this, then are you really saving money? Are you really saving time? If time is your most precious asset and you're spending it at a doctor's office, that's not helping.
No, absolutely not. And so, here you go, microplastics wrapping polyethylene, so organic produce wrapped in microplastics, and, there happens to be more forever microplastics in our plasma, yes, in our blood plasma. Yeah, absolutely. The toxicity, it's got to stop. It's really got to stop. Meanwhile, check out these logos. Do you ever look at the logos from Space Force and NASA and stuff. It really talks about our history and the fact that you could see so clearly. They're dangling in front of your faces. So you got a big old triangle there. Yeah, well, it looks just like what we saw in Star Trek. Yeah, and this looks like Darth Vader's ship. It really does. Or maybe it's Kylo Ren's ship. And again, this Nuremberg UFO woodcut where there was some sort of drone and orb war going on over the skies of Nuremberg, Germany, back in 1565. Very well documented. Things crashing from the sky. You have all sorts of videos of anomalous, you can't count them. There's just countless videos of anomalous objects too, and this one is catching something mighty large moving around Saturn. As always, I'll have the links for you guys. Yeah, I mean, just the very thought that we're all there is in this universe is just pure insanity. And yet it is a holographic experience. So in so many ways, what we are we living in a sim? Yeah. You know, we are living in a sim, but it has, real consequences. Oh, look at it. It's blinking saying hi. Yeah, this is part of the reality that has been hidden to us. Now, they have to let us know, and then people will think it's all fallen angels and demons because they're looking at things biblically. Who gave you those things? It's the sickle makers of the day. It's the Gil Bates of the day. It's the 46s of the day. It's the Keir Starmers. It's the same system. It's the Prince Charles. It's just like, how could that not click? Well, it's because, again, all the toxins and, those that have the cloudiest thoughts are probably dining on McDonald's every day. Or I don't even think that's possible because you wouldn't be alive dining on McDonald's every day. And yet billions and billions served. Yeah, it makes me think of, again, To Serve Man. Was that the Twilight Zone? I think it was the Twilight Zone. Are the Outer Limits? Meanwhile, this guy is real. That's a hammer-headed bat. Wow. It makes images of Dracula come to life. But the reality is, the real Dracula, Vlad Tepes, he was related to Prince Charles. You can't make this up. It's all really all connected in our mythology. And electromagnetic warfare and controlling people's minds and literally perhaps even overriding the soul and the soul's ability to move its own body is real. EMF warfare is real. And experiments have been done that literally can take control remotely of embodied souls and do what with them? I don't know. I guess maybe we should hang on and we'll see.
Oh, but I love this video. This is way cool because really I thought it was a stuffed cat for a second until you watch his tail. Mike's like, watch his tail. So you watch his tail and then does that. And then, not only that, but his buddy comes up and tries to take a look at what he's looking at, and something freezes his brain too. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, well, again, it's the way, monkey see, monkey do, and humans will follow other humans right off a cliff, and that's been proven. That has been absolutely proven. Now, be aware, nature is going to strike back at some point in time, and Mother Nature will cleanse herself. But again, I think so much of the fear and the blame is put on nature when it's just simply our perspective. We have to learn how to live in harmony with each other and live in harmony with the planet. We won't get that in the system that we are in. We are absolutely not acting in a symbiotic way with the planet. Each one of us can do what we can do. Of course, none of us have the ability to change the minds of heads of state unless we find a way to take the power away from them. Number one control is through the monetary system. So barter and trade and getting outside of that system. These are all ways that we can start to move control away from the power structure that's been in place literally for thousands of years and truly create a free environment on the planet. As we know, they always tell us one thing, and then do something different.
Indeed.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.